There's a lot of talk going on out there today because of comments one Sophie Cunningham made on her podcast. She made comments about her future. Look, is it common for potential free agents to make comments like this? Yes, it is. All right. It lets everybody know, hey, if you want my services, I mean, she probably wants to return back to Indiana, but she's like, I'm not doing it for free, and I can't say I blame her.
Fever fans were left speechless when Sophie Cunningham dropped a bombshell about her future. After a breakout season filled with clutch performances and fiery leadership, she's now demanding a bigger payday. This isn't just about ego, it's about value.
Now, I don't know if you guys have seen all the appearances she has made as of late. She's looking for a multi-year deal. There's been a lot of response to this. Do I think there's a world where she could leave? Yeah. Do I think it's very smart by the Indiana Fever to let her go, for Amber Cox to let her go, for Stephanie White to let her go? No, I think it's a ludicrous move.
Sophie became one of the Fever's most consistent scorers and a fan favorite. Yet her current contract doesn't reflect her impact. Her bold comments have shaken the locker room, stunned fans, and forced management to face a tough reality. The question now is simple: will Indiana pay up to keep their emotional spark, or risk losing her to a higher bidder?
An absolute ludicrous move if you let her out. And look, I just did a video yesterday evening about social media engagements and the Indiana Fever being worth $55 million. We also talked about the fact that this woman right here was the third most searched for WNBA player on Google during the season.
It all started when Sophie Cunningham opened up on her podcast, casually mentioning that she's not coming back for free. Those few words instantly set the WNBA world on fire. Fans replayed the clip, dissected her tone, and debated whether it was a negotiating tactic or a genuine sign she might walk away. Sophie didn't shout or threaten, but the message was crystal clear. She knows her worth, and she's finally demanding it.
Sophie has built a huge fan base. Now, part of that's being in Indiana because you're watched by, the most amount of people. And before you watch this, keep this in mind. Right here, September the 11th is when Sophie Cunningham went on an absolute tirade.
For years, she's been underpaid compared to her production, energy, and influence, both on and off the court. What made her statement hit even harder was the timing. She made it just as rumors surfaced about the Fever's rising valuation and record-breaking fan engagement. Sophie played a huge role in that surge, from her clutch shooting streak to her fiery chemistry with Caitlin Clark. But now, with her contract set to expire, the mood around Indiana has shifted from excitement to tension.
So, Sophie, and I'm sorry, but that little run of 14 games there where she had all this production, there is no playoffs if there isn't this run by Sophie throwing up these massive amounts of points and throwing in, 10 boards, 5 boards, 5 boards, 5 boards. I mean, she was contributing.
Inside the Fever camp, whispers began spreading fast. Some insiders believe Sophie's comments were meant to send a message directly to management specifically. Amber Cox and head coach Stephanie White. Others think she's testing the market, gauging how much leverage she has after proving her worth during the playoff push.
And I think the next team I play for, I want a bigger contract, so then I can buy a house and be homey and cozy.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That could be the Liberty. It could be New York City. It could also be the Lynx, and it could be Minneapolis. Like, you just don't know.
It could be anywhere.
Fans, meanwhile, are split. Half say she deserves every penny, pointing to her leadership and stats. The other half worry her boldness might rub the front office the wrong way. Still, one thing is undeniable. Sophie isn't afraid to take control of her future. She's built her own platform, grown a loyal fan base, and shown she can move social media engagement all by herself.
Sophie Cunningham just said on her podcast she's looking for a bigger multi-year contract so she can buy a house. Now, unless I'm going nuts, I think she played for $100,000 this last year. I may be wrong. It's just I'm spitballing it off the top of my head. Well, with the new media rights deal, I would guess that same contract would go up to $300,000.
For a team that's thrived off attention and brand growth, losing her voice could be a huge setback. But as she hinted on her show, "I've worked too hard to settle." That line alone left fans wondering, was it confidence or a farewell?
But she's wanting a multi-year deal. Well, with the new media rights money, there should be an increase in the salary cap. I think the Fever are absolutely crazy not to bring her back. And again, we've talked about this before. It's the elephant in the room no Fever fan wants to talk about except a few. She, again, is the only actual player in 2024 or 2025 that when Caitlin Clark was getting the crap kicked out of her, physically tried to defend her.
When Sophie Cunningham's remarks hit social media, the story exploded overnight. Sports pages, podcasts, and Fever fan forums all lit up with speculation about what she truly meant. Some fans argued she was simply negotiating in public, using her platform to apply pressure before free agency. Others believed it was depora, reflection of the frustration many players feel when their contributions go unnoticed by league executives. Sophie wasn't just talking about money, she was talking about respect. Reports soon surfaced about what her next deal might look like. She earned roughly $100,000 last season, a solid figure by WNBA standards, but far below her true value. Analysts now estimate her next contract could triple under the new media rights agreement and salary cap increase. A multi-year offer worth $300,000 annually wouldn't just secure her future. It would acknowledge how vital she's been to the Fever's success. Yet, whispers from the front office suggest hesitation. Some insiders say management isn't ready to commit that much money to a player they still view as a secondary star. But fans remember how Sophie carried the team through their toughest stretch. When the Fever were slipping out of playoff contention, she put up double-digit points for 14 straight games. Her intensity on defense and leadership in the locker room kept morale alive when things looked bleak. Those numbers don't lie, and the fan base knows it. Now the tension is impossible to ignore. Will the Fever reward loyalty and performance, or will they gamble on cheaper replacements? Supporters online are already warning the team not to make the same mistake other franchises didn't in valuing the very players who helped build momentum. Sophie's message wasn't just about herself, it was a challenge to the system that keeps shortchanging its brightest personalities. And with free agency approaching fast, one thing is clear, the Fever can't afford another misstep, because every dollar they hesitate to spend could cost them the soul of their team. To understand why Sophie Cunningham is demanding more, you have to look beyond the box score. Her value isn't just measured in points and rebounds, it's in how she reshaped the culture of the Indiana Fever. When the team's chemistry faltered early in the season, Sophie's fire and personality became the glue holding everything together. She wasn't afraid to confront teammates, challenge coaches, or spark energy from the bench. That fearless edge is what transformed her from a role player into one of the most recognizable faces in the WNBA. But Sophie's influence extends far beyond the court. During the Fever's social media boom, she ranked among the top 3 most searched WNBA players on Google. Her clips went viral for her hustle plays, fiery celebrations, and bold defense of teammates, especially Caitlin Clark. Fans started associating her presence with the team's identity, the one player who brought both toughness and entertainment every night. That connection built loyalty, merchandise, sales, and media buzz, all key ingredients that boosted the franchise's $55 million valuation. Sophie also understands how to play the modern game off the court. Her podcast isn't just a hobby, it's a strategic move. It allows her to speak directly to fans, control her narrative, and create leverage during negotiations. Every soundbite, every subtle hint gets picked up by sports outlets, ensuring her voice is heard loud and clear by the league. Few players have managed to build such a personal brand within such a short time, and that's exactly what's making Fever management nervous. Paying Sophie means acknowledging her as a cornerstone, not just a complementary piece. But if they hesitate, they risk losing not only her production, but also the emotional connection she's built with fans. The truth is, Sophie's worth can't be contained by a salary number. It's tied to the culture she helped create. And if Indiana undervalues that again, they might learn just how expensive loyalty really is. Behind the scenes, tension between Sophie Cunningham and head coach Stephanie White has quietly been building all season. While both are fierce competitors, their chemistry hasn't always clicked. Early in the year, fans noticed Sophie's minutes dropping without explanation. Some games she started, others she barely played at all, despite her consistent performance. It left many wondering whether White truly believed in her, or if something deeper was going on. For a player as fiery and outspoken as Sophie, that uncertainty only fueled her frustration. Reports from practice hinted at moments of disagreement. Sophie wanted to play with freedom cutting, shooting, and bringing energy to the court. White, known for her structured and disciplined system, often demanded a more controlled style. Their philosophies clashed. The breaking point seemed to come after a brutal loss to the Phoenix Mercury, when Sophie was one of the few players who showed any fight while the rest of the team fell flat. Fans questioned why she wasn't featured more heavily, calling it one of the coach's biggest mistakes of the season. Then came her podcast comments. Many insiders believe they were partially aimed at White and the Fever front office. Sophie's demand for a multi-year deal wasn't just about money, it was about respect. It was a message that she wanted to be treated as a key piece, not as an afterthought in a rotation that often left her role unclear. Despite the tension, there's still mutual respect. White knows Sophie's impact is undeniable, and Sophie recognizes that White helped shape her defensive toughness. But their relationship feels fragile, like one more disagreement could cause a real break. As the offseason approaches, that dynamic could decide everything. Will Stephanie White fight to keep Sophie, or quietly let her walk away? Fans can sense the discomfort, and it's becoming clearer by the death of Fever's internal politics. Might be just as unpredictable as their play on the court. If there's one moment that sealed Sophie Cunningham's place in the hearts of Fever fans, it was when she stood up for Caitlin Clark during a heated game against the Connecticut Sun. Clark had been roughed up all season, taking elbows, hard fouls, and cheap shots without much backup from her teammates. But that night, Sophie had enough. When Marina Mabre got physical with Caitlin, Sophie immediately charged in, ready to defend her teammate. Security and players had to hold her back. But the message was clear: she wasn't going to let anyone bully her. Team's rookie superstar. That scene went viral within hours. Fans flooded social media, calling her the only one with real heart. Clips of Sophie being restrained while shouting in defense of Clark became a symbol of unity and courage. It wasn't just a basketball moment, it was a turning point for the entire franchise. Sophie became the embodiment of toughness, something the Fever desperately needed after being labeled too passive. What made that moment even more powerful was that she didn't do it for attention. There were no cameras in her face, no calculated PR move. It was instinct. It was loyalty. She saw a teammate being targeted and reacted out of pure competitive fire. That authenticity resonated deeply with fans and players alike. After that night, Fever supporters viewed Sophie differently. She wasn't just another player in rotation, she was the heart of the team. Every game she played carried that same fire, every rebound and shot infused with that same passion. But ironically, that loyalty is now being tested. Despite defending the franchise's biggest star, Sophie finds herself negotiating for her own respect. The irony isn't lost on anyone. She protected the team when it mattered most. And now the question lingers: will the Fever protect her in return, or turn their backs on the player who gave them everything? The Indiana Fever fan base has never been more divided than it is now. On one side, loyal supporters are rallying behind Sophie Cunningham, insisting she deserves every cent she's asking for. They point to her leadership, intensity, and the spark she brings every night as proof that she's worth a major extension. For these fans, Sophie represents grit and authenticity, someone who bleeds for the team and fights for every possession. To them, losing her would be a betrayal of everything the Fever have worked to rebuild since. Caitlin Clark's arrival reignited national attention, but not everyone agrees. A vocal minority within the fanbase argues that Sophie's demands are too bold, that her outspokenness on her podcast crosses professional lines. They believe her comments put unnecessary pressure on management and distract from the team's focus. Some even claim she's using her connection to Clark's popularity to strengthen her position, something that rubs old-school fans the wrong way. The debates online have grown heated, with Twitter threads and Reddit discussions turning into battlegrounds between those who see Sophie as a cornerstone and those who see her as replaceable. Meanwhile, the front office seems to be watching the chaos quietly, gauging public reaction. Fever management knows fan sentiment matters now more than ever. The team's meteoric rise in value was built largely on engagement, social media buzz, and loyalty. Letting go of a fan favorite could spark outrage that spills beyond Indiana. Yet keeping her at a premium price means reshuffling budgets and possibly losing other key pieces. Through it all, Sophie has stayed composed. She hasn't backtracked or apologized for her words. Instead, she's doubled down on the idea that women in sports deserve to fight for fair compensation. Whether fans love her or criticize her, she's sparked a conversation much bigger than one contract. And deep down, both sides know if the Fever won't just be negotiating numbers this offseason. They'll be negotiating identity, loyalty, and what kind of team they truly want to be. As the debate around Sophie Cunningham's contract grows louder, the financial reality facing the WNBA is impossible to ignore. The Fever's valuation recently surged past $55 million, a number that stunned industry insiders. Much of that rise came from the star power and marketability of players like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, who turned Indiana into one of the league's hottest brands. Yet behind the celebration, league executives are quietly panicking. Paying Sophie what she's worth could set a precedent that forces other teams to follow suit, challenging the WNBA's long-standing pay structure. The league has depended on modest player salaries to maintain balance, but now the stars are finally realizing their true leverage. Sophie's demand for more money isn't just a personal move, it's a challenge to the system itself. She's pointing out that while the Fever's social media engagement and merchandise sales have skyrocketed, players like her haven't seen proportional rewards. Her fight represents a growing sentiment among mid-tier players who carry teams through grit and consistency but rarely see PE. Insiders say the WNBA's top brass is keeping a close eye on how Indiana handles this situation. If the Fever decide to pay up, other athletes might follow Sophie's lead and renegotiate their contracts too. Sponsors, investors, and even media partners are watching closely because this could redefine how value is measured in women's basketball. The irony is thick. The same league that celebrates empowerment now faces its toughest test, honoring the worth of one of its fiercest competitors. Sophie's case isn't about greed, it's about fairness. She helped build something valuable and refuses to settle for less, while others profit from her effort. The pressure is mounting, and the league's next move could determine whether this moment becomes a revolution or just another overlooked demand in WNBA history. As the offseason approaches, all eyes are on Sophie Cunningham. Every headline, tweet, and podcast clip builds toward one defining question: will she stay with the Indiana Fever, or is this the end of an era? For Sophie, the answer seems to hinge on more than just numbers. She's made it clear she wants a team that values her contribution, not just as a player, but as a leader. Her comments about wanting a multi-year deal and a stable home suggest she's looking for security, not temporary appreciation. Still, whispers around the league say several teams are circling, ready to offer what Indiana might not. The New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx have both been mentioned as potential destinations. Both teams have deeper budgets and strong market visibility to things. Sophie could easily elevate with her personality and brand. But there's also loyalty to consider. Indiana gave her the stage to prove herself, and her bond with Caitlin Clark and Lexi Hull is undeniable. Leaving would mean starting over, but staying could mean sacrificing what she believes she deserves. For Fever fans, the idea of losing her feels like a gut punch. She's become the emotional heartbeat of the team, the player who turned passion into performance. Yet, in professional sports, sentiment rarely outweighs business. If management fails to act decisively, Sophie could walk hand. The ripple effect would be massive. Her departure wouldn't just hurt the roster, It would shake the trust of fans who've invested their hearts in this team. Now, as negotiations loom, Indiana faces a crossroads. Will they step up and reward the woman who helped spark their resurgence, or let her become the face of another franchise's success story? Whatever happens next will define the Fever's future and send a message to every player in the league. Loyalty might win hearts, but only respect and the right paycheck keeps a star from walking away. Sophie Cunningham's demand for a new contract isn't just a negotiation, it's a statement. She's forcing the Indiana Fever and the WNBA to recognize the value of grit, leadership, and loyalty in an era where women athletes finally know their worth. Her fight represents every player who's given everything without being properly rewarded. Now, with her future hanging in the balance, fans are left holding their breath. Whether she stays or leaves, Sophie has already changed the conversation. The Fever's next move won't just define their roster, it will define what respect truly means in women's basketball.